Welcome to another actual play with Just One More Fix. This is James. With me in this episode is Carrie, Kaylin, and Lacey.
Hey. Hello.
Hello.
You can find us online at justonmorefix.com or on Twitter at justonmorefix. If you like us, you can support us at Patreon, and you can give us a rating and review at iTunes or wherever you find us at. In this episode, we're going to play Kyle Chenier's Peril of the Fat Prince. And now, it's time to get our gaming fix. You're about to listen to our actual play of Peril of the Fat Prince by Kyle Chenier. You may notice some audio glitches in this one because we recorded this remotely. You can find all of Kyle's stuff at birchandbat.com, and that's all linked in the show notes. If you like what we do at Just One More Fix, you can support us at patreon.com/JustOneMoreFix and get access to all of our raw audio feeds and pre-shows, as well as our quarterly zine Worms and the upcoming Hastings Party. So without any further ado, here is Peril of the Fat Prince. Welcome to the actual Just More Fix. We are here with Kyle Chenier. So, Kyle, without any further ado, you want to go ahead and take it away and sort of tell us what we're all doing here?
All right, sounds good. Yes, my name is Kyle Chenier. I will be your game master for this session. We're playing through a new adventure that I have coming out called Peril of the Fat Prince for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. So, to start things off, let's introduce some characters that we have going on here. Who's all at the table this time around?
So I'm Carrie, and I'll be playing Tiffany Daniels, a first-level half-elf bard that can never find a place that won't let her play there. I have to be the center of attention at all times.
Awesome. Always good to have a bard in the party.
My name is Kaylin. I'm going to be playing Roland Colonna, a human fighter level 1, and I would rather eat my armor than admit I'm wrong. And I will fight for those who cannot fight for themselves.
Aww.
Fantastic.
Like the bard.
Fighters are always going to be bringing the brawn and the might.
So I'm Lacey, and I'm going to be playing the halfling rogue, Robin LeHood. Yeah, you're welcome. And so I am always calm, no matter what the situation is, and I'm also very loyal. But when I see something valuable, I have to steal it.
Always a wonderful quirk that makes for some of the best games.
And I am James, and I am playing the reformed pirate, first-level cleric of Poseidon, David Jones. And I, once someone questions my courage, I may never back down, no matter how dangerous the situation.
Are we sharing our flaws? Because I'm totally a sucker for a pretty face.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah. Fantastic. So we have a cleric, a rogue, a bard, and a fighter. This is a great party already. So the characters of David, Robin, Tiffany, and Roland. You find yourselves in the city-state of Invincia. It is the grandest city in the known world, made up of what was previously dozens upon dozens of other cities and townships, and it has expanded to the point where it takes up much of the northern hemisphere. It is at the base of a mountain range, and it goes down into an area known as the Arcane Badlands. What has brought you to Invincia basically could be anything. Maybe it was adventure, maybe it was excitement, maybe you were just looking for a cool place to live that was out of the ordinary. But you have found the four of yourselves together, having met up. Maybe you've been on a couple of adventures before, but you're all fairly familiar with one another.
Right on.
It is early afternoon. The sun has risen quite over the large buildings of an area of the city known as the Garden District. So known because it is filled with gardens. It is a lush, green, and verdant place where the rich tend to do a lot of hobnobbing around. So the four of you are hanging out. Maybe you're at a cafe or a local pub. The four of you are approached by a messenger. This messenger is a young human man. He's very well dressed in noble attire. He sees the four of you, quickly moves his way towards you and bows, and then presents to the four of you a sealed letter.
It must be for me.
I need to give this to the four of you.
For Tiffany, right? I'll take it out of his hand.
It is actually not addressed to anyone. Rather, on the front, sort of in a very quick scrawl in common, it reads, 2 adventurers.
That's reassuring.
Yeah. Tiffany, you're fairly certain that this must refer to you.
I
more than
know.
anyone else.
Well, they either misspelt it or they know that I'm a great adventurer. Either way, I'm opening it.
Okay. You crack open this letter, and there is a very brief bit of text below that. It reads, Adventurers, I offer 1,000 gold pieces to anyone who rescues the missing Prince of Everland, Theo Oberon. For more information, seek me out at the servants' entrance to Gardania Manor in the Garden District. Discretion and privacy is of the utmost importance. Signed, Chamberlain, Oral Drenmark, which I realize is just a whole mouthful of weird-ass fantasy names all at once.
Is the Prince Theo Oberon missing that I know of?
As you think of it, no. As a matter of fact, you as a bard have heard of Everland. It is a sort of medieval England pastiche far to the east. You're not super familiar with the royal family there, but as far as you know, there's no missing prince. You think that would be huge news. Like, that's some, like, oh man, that, like, town criers the city over are going to be ringing their bells and shouting about that. But you don't know of any missing prince.
Do we know this Oral Drenmark? Have I heard of his name before?
Let me see. As a cleric, you haven't actually heard of this person before, but you think you've seen Gardania Manor around this place before. It's a fairly large and sort of opulent nobleman's manor, sort of in the north area of this district.
Okay.
The messenger, once the message is read, he sort of extends a hand to you all and says, I can take you to Gardania Manor now, if you wish.
What do you think? Do we go with him or do we go on it?
1,000 gold is a lot of gold.
True. Fair enough.
I mean, I did have other engagements, but I suppose I can free up some time.
Is he cute?
The messenger?
Yes.
Or,
I am beautiful. Oh, you meant the messenger. I'm sorry.
the messenger is unfortunately very homely. He has sort of a bowl cut, and his eyes are a little too far apart.
No, I think I could probably find my own way. Are you guys going with this guy?
Yes, because he actually knows the way.
Yeah, I'm the only one who knows true direction in this town.
Are you buying us dinner?
I mean, perhaps. And he kind of like leans in a little bit. It's like, are you asking me out?
No, you'll know when I ask you out.
Oh, he suddenly gets very disappointed.
But thanks for asking.
He just crushed his hopes and dreams.
You see this messenger sort of a little dejected. He turns away and sort of points up the hill. In the Garden District, there's this very large, sort of steep hill, at the top of which are the sort of like really, really nice gardens. At the base of this tall hill is sort of what you imagine to be Gardania Manor, because it's sort of the biggest manor by the hill. If you go down this street, then hang a right, and then up the avenue to the north, you'll find your way there quickly enough.
Are they expecting us?
Clearly.
They're expecting people all day.
Okay, fair enough. I find it's bad to drop in on extremely wealthy manors uninvited.
Looking for not missing princes.
Yes.
I mean, I've never had a problem.
Might have a brand or something with a P on it somewhere, probably. Right on. All right, well, shall we go then?
Yeah.
Anywhere.
I mean, those directions were oddly simple. He said he was the only guy that could find this place.
Let's go.
He was just trying to be
Everyone
useful.
around this area is just utterly, they're just like extremely dim, just absolute imbeciles.
I just thought he was being
People in
polite.
this area need to be coached from place to place, otherwise they completely lose their way.
Very good.
So you are you're led by this messenger, you make your way there. Gardania Manor is quite opulent, and you're led around back to the servants' entrance. You make your way through a kitchen until you are brought into, as you sort of like are weaving through a bunch of servants, making your way to a very large sort of entryway. There is a pillar in the center with a very fancy horse statue on top of it, and a set of grand stairs that leads up to a second floor.
Is this horse statue large by halfling measure?
I would say this statue is about half your size. It's about 1.5 feet tall. It is not so big that you couldn't try to steal it. It is not secured to this pillar.
Could I try and steal it and put it in the fighter's backpack?
You may do so. Doing so would require, according to the rules of Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition, I believe it is a sleight of hand check.
Ooh, I got a 23.
You are left, this messenger bows and exits, leaving. You are all left alone in this room. You manage to pick up this heavy horse statue with aplomb and secure it into the backpack of one Roland Colonna. Roland, you feel a sudden weight sort of shift in your backpack. Oh, it's suddenly heavier.
It's odd, because usually when I'm behind you, your backpack gets lighter.
So with that, as suddenly this horse statue disappears into a backpack, you all see a well-dressed nobleman hurry down the stairs to greet you. And he brushes his floppy black hair out of his eyes and looks you all over. This man is clearly exhausted and quite frazzled. His clothing is a bit rumpled as well. He addresses you. Greetings. I am Peril Drenmark, the Chamberlain of the Gardanish family. He says it a little hurriedly with sort of a strained smile. I'll cut right to the chase. I have a missing prince that I need found, and I will pay you 1,000 gold pieces to do it.
Well, we came all the way up here. I suppose 1,000 gold pieces seems reasonable.
You actually all know, in terms of the way that money spends in Invincia, 1,000 gold pieces is a ridiculous sum of money. It is huge. Like a decent meal on one of the nicer areas costs maybe a few silver. A gold piece will get you a comfortable, like a fairly decent living for like a few days. 1,000 gold pieces for like an adventuring job like this is extreme. It is sort of an exorbitant amount of money for sort of a first level adventuring job.
So why so much?
I'm shooting you
He
a very
touches
angry
his
expression.
nose and he says, Prince Theo Oberon is the crown prince of Everland. He is an extremely important person. When his mother, Elizabeth, passes on, he will become king. To say that his life is important, even by noble standards, is an understatement. He is incredibly important. Let's say this job must be handled with a severe degree of care and discretion.
If it's so discreet, how come you didn't know my name?
He looks you all over and he says, you are, and he pauses for a moment, and he pushes his hand through his hair. Tiffany, was it not?
Yeah, it was. You misspelled it on the envelope.
And you're Robin and
No, they don't matter.
David and Roland. Yes,
Sorry.
my contacts have told me about the four of you. You are, from what I've heard, trustworthy enough adventurers.
Okay, enough. Fair enough.
That is an apt description.
Trustworthy enough. I like it.
If I could interject just for a moment, let's say
Please.
Prince Theo. Who would be next in line for succession?
He sighs for a moment and he says, that's the problem. He is the only crown prince. If he is not crowned next, it would fall to basically a number of other nobles. There would be a power struggle in Everland. He pauses for a moment because he's sort of kept up this sort of regal bearing with you all, and he just lets it drop where he's just like, yeah, it's a big deal. I'm sorry, I can't keep putting on airs at this moment. Things are far too dire and far too tense.
So worse comes to worse, and we find the prince, and he's already moved on, so to say.
Not before getting me pregnant.
Ooh.
Whoa.
Easy there. As I was saying.
I have prepared for such an eventuality.
But is
You're
like the
prepared for
reward
some gold
halved, or do we still get a
1,000 gold
reward?
pieces. It is for the safe return
Okay.
of the prince to Gardania Manor. If he has been harmed or killed, and he sort of shudders at the thought of it, I can provide you with half the amount.
Wow. It's not bad.
As long as you return with proof of his demise. I cannot stress how important it is that he is returned unharmed.
So do you know where he, went? Or who kidnapped him? Or...
Oral shakes his head. It's like, this is where things get tricky. The prince was reported missing less than a day ago. His carriage was found overturned in the street in the district next to ours. You all know the district next to the Garden District is known as Popper's Field. In comparison to the Garden District, it is an extremely poor area of the city. Oral continues and says, his carriage was found, but the prince's jewels and coin purse were not taken. None of the Oberon family's numerous enemies have claimed responsibility for this kidnapping. You would think if a crown prince was kidnapped, there would be a ransom or some form of contact. None has been made.
Did he perchance just leave and go somewhere else?
He says, when the prince came to us, he's visiting the Gardanish family, who I look over. I'm their chamberlain. They are his cousins. He had visited them in order to seek out the city, get a bit of fresh air and perspective. He was looking for some, what do the kids call it? Excitement.
Well, it seems he found it.
Yeah, Oral continues, if he was looking to run away, why would his carriage be overturned and ruined? And he starts pointing to his fingers and says, his attendant and coach driver killed horribly. If he was just looking to run away, why the violence? Why the bloodshed?
Now, when you say killed horribly...
He sort of gets a little squeamish. Their corpses have been kept below in our crypts. It's a little grisly, I'm afraid.
Well, I suppose that might need some looking into.
One, the coach driver, his throat was slashed. Prince Theo's attendant, Genevieve, and he looks like real distraught when he says this, was seemingly burned alive.
Wait. So the coach driver had his throat slit, and then someone else was burned alive?
He nods.
I don't know. I think we should see the bodies first.
Yeah, I agree.
Are there any witnesses from Popper's Field?
Of course not.
Oh, we'll probably have to go find them.
He shakes his head and he says, if there were, I haven't been able to find any information on them.
Well, I'm sure we can turn up some people, but I think the bodies might be, and the carriage might be the first place to start. Is there a timeline on this?
He says, the sooner the better.
Right.
I worry to think what might have become of the prince. And worse than that, word travels quickly.
Right.
We don't want to go to the Invincia City Guards with this just yet. To be frank, Prince Theo's family does not yet know he has disappeared. And my masters, the Gardanish family, would like to keep it that way.
Right.
If it were revealed that Prince Theo was kidnapped while in our family's care, it would doom them for generations.
So what did you tell the authorities happened to him after they found a scorched body and a slit throat? Just so we have our story straight with all the guards and whatnot we may run into.
He tells you that the Invincia Guard have not yet really done anything about it. Popper's Field is sort of not so much a lawless area, but the guards don't really pay too much mind to the things that happen there.
Right on.
As far as Oral Drenmark, the Chamberlain, is aware, the guards don't know anything.
Okay, very good.
That might not be the case. Word and rumors do tend to travel fast.
So
He asks if you would like to see the bodies. He is willing to let you see them.
Very good. Yeah, so let's take a gander at them, and we'll move on from there, I suppose. Mm-hmm. Then in the carriage.
He brings you down to the crypts. He's sort of leading you by torchlight as you're entering this very, very spooky underground area where there are essentially like sarcophagi and tombs and things. And laying on two slabs, there are two bodies. Let me see. Indeed, as he's sort of pulling back shrouds, you see there is a human man still dressed in sort of footman's clothing, wearing riding pants. His throat has indeed been slashed open. It looks like that's what killed him. As Oral pulls over the other shroud, he exposes the body of a burnt to a crisp person. It is only by sort of Oral's description that you know this person was a woman at any point.
Okay. So can I tell whether it was... Is there a way to see if maybe it was mundane fire or magical fire that burned her?
You could. That would be either an Arcana check or a medicine check.
I have medicine, so I'll use that one. Let's see. I get a 17.
All right. With 17, you lean down and you do some CSI shit. You can tell the degree that she was burned up, this was not sort of normal fire. Like, this wasn't caused by, like, fire and oil. This was magic of some kind. It was either a spell or possibly some kind of breath weapon.
That's reassuring. But at least we know, I suppose.
How common are spellcasters that would be able to do this kind of magic in this area?
I'm glad you asked. You know that the area of Invincia, magic is... It's not super commonplace. There are sort of wizards and clerics about, and even simple magic seems to draw like a lot of attention. There is a certain amount of belief that magic is sort of taboo and that it brings about like bad luck and things. So like there are many who think that spellcasters are wonderful and they're definitely a path towards like bettering society. But there is a great deal more who think the opposite. So spellcasters are like 1 in 100, if that. Generally, people don't have too high of an opinion of magic.
Well, that's at least something to watch out for, or points us at someone. What about the driver of the carriage? Is there anything to be discerned from like his wounds or anything, or?
You could make an additional medicine check if you wanted.
How about not so good. What is that? How about a 13?
A 13, you're not certain. You definitely know that the wound in his neck killed him.
Yeah.
Anyone who wants to can make an intelligence check or a medicine check.
It's that right there. That's what did it in. It's the wound in the neck. I've seen that before.
I don't have any medicine.
All right.
Probably, honestly, I'm not that interested.
I thought it was his foot that killed him.
Robin, as you look over this, because you are a rogue, you actually see... One thing you notice is that the wound in the neck is incredibly clean. And from the angle that it was done by, you're familiar with this kind of cut. This was done with a sneak attack.
Ah.
It would not surprise you if the person who killed this driver was a rogue or an assassin.
So then it was...
Probably a rogue or assassin, but I'm going to embellish and add details that may not even be true. Likely a very tall human, possibly left-handed.
It was probably you at this rate.
Tall human? Seriously?
So, that's handy.
It must have been the guild.
Yeah, well, I mean,
You were right, he was probably very handy.
So do you think it's worth looking at the carriage, or should we head directly to the Popper's Field?
I mean, we're already here. We might as well look at the carriage, right? Is the carriage
Fair
here?
enough.
All right. The carriage is actually in. Basically, there's the scene of the crime where the remains of the carriage are still there in the street.
Is the gentleman that brought us down here, is he still with us?
He is, yes.
So were the horses left behind, or did they take them as well?
He says, The horses indeed returned to the Garden District. They are in a stable, a sort of holding for noble people's horses in the area, known as the Hoof and Herb.
Alrighty. I just thought it'd be a useful thing.
Terribly frightening things. I'm personally scared of horses, so I kept my distance.
Should we go and investigate them as well?
No, I don't think so.
I think so.
Of course you do.
There could be horse-related.
When are we going to get are you like an animal expert of some kind?
Are you hoping to open an interrogation of some variety?
Right. Like, how is that going to work?
You never know.
So I think we should sing them.
Sing to them?
Well, I mean, or horse interrogate them.
Right. So carriage then, right?
Carriages.
So at this point, if you guys wish to leave and get cracking on this investigation, you can do this sort of all together, or you can split up to go to different places at once. But you have a few options available to you. You've checked out the bodies, and you've asked Oral a bunch of questions so far. You can check out the scene of the crime, where the overturned carriage is, see if you can pick up any clues or maybe find any witnesses. Another thing, you actually also have the lead of the horses if you want to investigate that. Another thing that each of you or all of you together could do is because of your classes and your characters' backgrounds, you may know people in the city, people of influence and people who may have seen something or know something because of who they know. These are essentially contacts. If you want to rely on some of those contacts to ask further questions, you can do that.
I'm actually a member of the Harpers, so I was planning on talking to them, but probably seeing the carriage first.
So I don't think there's anything to be gleaned from the horses.
I do.
Yeah, okay.
How can you be sure until you question them?
She can go to the horses. She's certainly not doing anything else.
Fine, you're right. Yeah. Go play with the horses. We'll do the real work.
And 5 minutes in, we will split the party.
That is 100% okay. The adventure accommodates.
Yeah, very good. All right, so if you want to do the horses, then we'll I think
I'm going to go with the horse lady.
Oh my god.
Sweet. You wanted me to go with you?
Well, I want you to go to your rogue contacts, because we know that this was some sort of assassin-y kind of person that did this.
Solo operation. You're right. You guys aren't really cool enough to go to the thieving area anyway. So.
I'm a member of the Harpers.
Yeah,
too.
you look way too straight edge. Like,
not for the Harpers. They're a society of good.
I don't believe you.
Are they like a really sort of rough and tumble organization?
They're like Robin Hood.
This cool to join.
I'm totally a member of the Harpers.
They steal from the rich and give to the poor.
So I would say that if Robin and Tiffany, if you want to speak to, if you want to go to the Hoof and Herb, I don't know why I said it with that, the Hoof and Herb. If you want to head there and then follow that up with a contact, you can do so.
I like it.
And then from the sounds of it, David and Roland will be checking out the scene of the crime.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. All right. I like this. As you leave Gurdania Manor and you make your way through the Garden District towards Popper's Field, you split up. To start things off, I'm going to see to Roland and David. You make your way across town. You're journeying in between districts. You make your way towards Popper's Field. As you get through the gates, you see it, a district of dusty shacks, crumbling tenement buildings, and fallow fields. It is home to Invincia's poorest and most desperate people, and a great deal of its thugs and criminals. As you're getting in here to the center of a grimy and desolate street in Popper's Field, you see it, the Prince's carriage. It's been overturned and broken into. The wood of its doors is cracked and splintered, as if violently opened. Blood stains the ground 5 feet from the carriage, and not far from that, the ground is scorched and burnt.
That's reassuring.
It is sort of sunken in as the ground has become muddy. There are muddy footprints moving off in all directions.
Well,
what would you like to do?
I'm going to look inside the carriage. Is there anything left behind by the prince? Like maybe he left, or some kind of, maybe as they snatched him out, maybe something got caught or something?
Okay. Make me an investigation check.
I got a 1.
I see. So as you look in, you see that this carriage has definitely crashed, and it has been overturned. It is just an absolute mess inside of it.
Definitely a lot of carnage happened here.
Over. Yeah, you're surprised anyone could have survived, let alone like you remember those 2 dead bodies you saw, and you're like, yep, those people were definitely dead. This is what did it.
So on the bright side, we're definitely going to get 500 gold pieces when we find his body, because no one lived through this kind of a crash.
Yeah, no, impossible.
If no one lived through this crash, then why are there footprints all around in every direction from the crash?
Well, those are the people that caused the crash.
Oh, I see.
They weren't in the crash, or they were fleeing as things were going awry, clearly.
So if there was a crash, how do you explain the scorched body we just saw not but 5 minutes ago?
A wizard? I told you about that while we were there.
So a wizard caused the crash, is what you're saying, and then took the time after causing the crash that no one apparently survived to take someone out of the crash and subsequently burn them alive.
Yeah. No, so so the crash happened, right? So this is my vision, right? The crash happens, they scorch this person, they murder the driver, and I think they weren't intending on killing the prince, but I think that clearly he died in this crash and they took his body, hopefully maybe to ransom it. That's what I would have done when I was a pirate.
I see.
It's my expert pirate opinion.
You may be a pirate, you may be a cleric.
I was a pirate.
But I don't think you're
was
investigator.
If Roland wishes, he can make an investigation check of his own.
I don't have it as a skill. Can I still roll for it?
So it would just be intelligence then.
Okay.
I got a 3.
Sent the A-team out here.
All right, you look in, and loath as you are to admit it, David's explanation of things seems to line up with your own assessment. Like, oh wow, yeah, no one could have survived this. So it must have done it. Shit.
Well, I may know that
he was right.
I may know that he's right, but I will never ever admit it.
Oh, of course not.
So I will stick to my harebrained theory of this not being a crash. And
what happens is... Oh, no, please, go ahead.
I'm actually going to look at the footprints and see if I can tell different sizes to see if one of them might have been a halfling, or if any of them were wearing any particular...
What are you suggesting?
If any of them were wearing any particular footwear, like greaves that might leave a different indentation.
You start to search around the mud. There are, like, dozens of sets of footprints. Some of them large, some of them small, most of them booted. And it's muddied to the point where you can't tell the direction in which they're going. It's just a lot of, like, half tracks just scattered throughout the mud. It's almost indiscernible. Give me another intelligence check to see if you can glean anything more.
Man, I am just not the smartest fighter today.
That'll be 6.
With a 6, you're looking around. You can see there's one track in particular that you notice, because it's like a slightly fresher track and it's sort of isolated. It is the track of what looks almost like a sort of like an animal, like a reptilian creature. There's sort of like a 3-talon-toed track in the ground, and it stands out from the others. But as you do that, you hear a crash from behind you as a garbage can is knocked over, and you hear cats caterwauling sort of in the distance. As someone ducks out from behind the alley, you see an old woman covered in cats. But it's at that moment that I will turn to the rest of the party on the opposite side of town. Robin and Tiffany, you've made your way in the Garden District down the hill to the Hoof and Herb. It seems to be a highfalutin and very fancy stable for rich people. When the people of the city who have money can't afford for stable, or not can't afford, but like don't have the room for stables of themselves, they have their nice horses taken care of here.
I don't believe there is any reason for this organic alfalfa. None whatsoever.
Yeah, as you make your way towards this place, it seems to be selling, on top of like holding horses, they seem to sell like riding supplies and natural goods.
Hey.
Oh, no. So, did you actually want to talk to the horses? Because I would just like to talk to the people.
You talk to the people, and I'll go see the horses.
Perfect.
Okay. Entering in, you see... So upon entering, in the back you can see that there are 12 draft horses being kept in these stables. Apart from them, there is one gnomish person. You're not quite able to discern their gender. They're sort of wearing gender-neutral clothing, as well as a scarf and shawl around their head and face. They smile to you and invite you inside and say, "Welcome to the Hoof and Herb." They're dressed in bottle green clothing, and they're wearing owl bear claw rimmed spectacles. And they look to you and say, "How may I help you?"
Yes, I've been sent over from Oral Drenmark's establishment over at the Gardanish family manor to check on
the Gardanish family.
Yes. To check on the state of the horses. I was wanting to speak with whoever has been charged with their care.
Oh, well, that would be me. My name is Waywocket.
Waywocket.
I run this establishment and I care for the horses. Yeah, they came in quite a state. They've only now been sort of calmed down to the point where they'll stand and sit still. Whatever happened must have spooked them terribly.
Have you seen this kind of thing before?
Not particularly. It's certainly not something that would put the fear into horses like this.
And were the horses harmed physically in any way?
She shakes her head and says, "No, not that I've been able to tell. They were tired and weary from running hard, but none of them seem to be hurt or anything."
And have they been bathed and brushed since then?
No, I have not tended to them in that way yet. Are you two investigators?
No. This is all very routine. Prince, stumbling on
Theo
name.
Oberon?
Yes, takes the care of his horses very seriously.
Oh, these were the prince's horses. I see. She sort of like looks like she's having like a think to herself at that moment.
And that is why he told us to come look at them.
Yes, and he in fact said that he would not be happy until we had looked at the horses ourselves and given them a full inspection.
Really? Well, sorry, tell me. I know I haven't actually gotten a straight answer from the Gardanish or their chamberlain. Has anything happened to the prince?
When we spoke to him, he seemed fine.
Yeah. A little shook up, just like the horses.
Why?
I mean, it was a crash. What have you heard? People and their gossip, honestly.
These were the prince's horses, and they came back into the district without him and without his carriage. I couldn't get a straight answer out of the family, but honestly, I kind of fear for his safety. You actually get the impression that this person seems to sort of genuinely care and is sort of worried.
Well, rest assured that the prince is doing just fine.
She seems incredible. I think that might be a what would the check be? That might be a deception check because she's very dubious of that claim.
All right. I got a 6.
Truly the all-star team.
She gives it the side eye and is like, "Huh."
Look, if I could be honest with you, they sent us here, but they didn't want people to know what was going on. So, can you keep a secret?
What's been going on? Absolutely. Who am I going to tell? These horses?
Well, that's what we were hoping you could tell us what they knew.
They do have really big mouths.
Honestly, that's actually something I can. I have a bit of druidic training. I can glean a bit of information from them.
I'm going to reach out and grab their hand, and I'm going to say, "This is why I knew I could trust you. The prince is missing, and we're going to find him."
I see.
Facepalm.
They'll take you over to the horses, and with that, let's see. Yeah, and you see these two these two horses, they're very fine. Like, compared to a few of the other horses here, they're very fine. And, they look very well taken care of. But they definitely do look sort of spooked. They've got a look in their eyes. She channels a bit of magic and begins to speak with a few of them and sort of questioning them in horse language. After a moment of this sort of neighing and whinnying back and forth, she turns away and says, okay, that was something. The prince was taken by a man with horns, a small and brawny person, I believe they mean a halfling, and some kind of red lizard person who breathes fire. Does any of that make sense to any of you?
Not remotely.
It sounds like a terrible, evil adventuring party.
She thinks for a moment and says, those people don't sound familiar, but there may be only one person who might have known of the prince being here. She suddenly gets they get really sort of serious for a moment. This gnome looks to you all and says, there is a elven woman. She operates a nightclub in the Garden District. She works for a dwarven cartel, and I'm fairly certain they have need for getting rid of Prince Fio. If anything, if I had to place bets or anything, I'd say that she is somewhat responsible for this.
Do I trust this person, Mr. Waywolcut, or do they sound like they're trying to throw me off?
You can make an insight check to see if you think Waywalket is being honest and forthright.
I got a 9.
You're not certain. You think they might be honest, but at the same time, you're like, I don't know about this. This whole thing seems kind of suspect.
All right, so I'm going to say, why would this elven woman with her dwarven cartel want the prince? What do they have to gain?
Waywalket looks at you as she's brushing these horses. They say, the dwarven cartel that this woman works for, they keep tabs on all merchants and nobles who enter the city. I know that this cartel is currently a chief competitor to the Oberon family in Everland. They've been rivals for some time now. If the Oberon family had enemies in the city, I would put down money that it's them.
Do they keep their horses here?
They shake their head and say, no, they haven't come to do business here in quite some time. Their representative, this half-elf woman, her name is Vorta. She runs a nightclub called The Last Resort. Yeah, at this point, you have no idea whether or not, this is actually a genuine lead. She could totally, or they could totally be just coming up with this. Maybe it's an old grudge or something. But you think that's what they believe, but you don't know if it's true or not.
Well, Waywalket, my name is Tiffany Daniels, and as a favor to you, if you ever need someone to perform at a lovely event, I would be more than willing to do so.
That's very generous of you. Thank you.
I do it again.
Waywalket bows to you and in deference.
Ooh. Kind of famous.
You're kind of a suck-up.
But with that, Waywalket sort of points you in the direction of downtown Garden District where this nightclub is.
Am I familiar with this establishment?
You are. I would say that as a rogue, you probably haven't been to the Last Resort before, but you've definitely heard of it. It is by night it is a dance club that's usually frequented by dwarves and dwarven business people.
Seems like a legitimate establishment to me.
Yeah. Because it is still early, that if you were to go now, it would not be busy, and you would likely have a good chance of finding the proprietors.
And seeing if any of those 3 characters are there.
Well,
we could go under the guise of me trying to get a gig for this night.
Let's do it.
Of course, they'll want me.
I'll be your manager.
I like the setup. All right, you have a clever ruse and a way in. All right, so you head off in the direction of this dwarven nightclub. At what point I'm going to switch back to David and Roland as a crazy old cat lady has just stumbled out of the street. She is covered with a dozen cats on her shoulders and back and in her arms. Her hair is gray and matted. She has a hollow look about her eyes.
That's creepy. So, you should go ask her what she saw. She clearly stays over here. I did all the work with the carriage. You should go check on the cat lady, and I'm going to keep investigating the inside of the carriage.
I'd love to. I really would. But you're clearly the more handsome of the two of us.
This is true. She's not looking for a husband, though. She's too old for that. I'm kind of. I'm a pirate. I was a pirate. I'm kind of threatening. You should go. I'm gonna look in. I'm already in. I'm getting in the carriage to look. To inspect.
Don't you?
Let me know how it goes.
I'll give myself a moment to mentally prep, and I will approach the crazy cat lady.
Okay. She sort of backs away from you for a moment as you get closer, sort of a little scared, like, what do you ask of me? What do you want?
I just want to know if you saw anything here. Anyone inspecting the scene, running from the scene? Did you see the scene? Did you see it in action? Any of the above?
Saw lots of things. Many things going on. I didn't see anything, but my cats did.
Uh-huh.
Mr. Whiskers, you saw it, didn't you? And she lifts up one of these, like a large orange tabby into her arms as she gazes into its eyes and goes,
And what exactly
Mr. Whiskers saw it all.
What exactly did he see, ma'am?
She thrusts this cat in front of you. It's like, well, Mr. Whiskers won't tell you anything unless he likes you. Is Roland trained in animal handling at all?
He is not.
You can, if you wish, try to make a charisma check to make an impression upon this very large orange tabby.
All right, I'm going to need this to be my first good roll of the night. Nope, not today. 6 again.
Oh, goodness. This cat hisses and looks at you with just like the worst look in the world. It's like, and sort of froths at the mouth for a moment, and she pulls the cat away to straw. Oh, Mr. Whiskers hates you. Oh, you're a foul person.
Can I see him one more time, ma'am? Just to get a word in edgewise.
Let's see.
So I think maybe I'm going to spring into action to show the fighter how terrible he is at life.
We haven't hit anything yet. You have to understand.
So I'm going to sidle up next to the to Roland and sort of push him aside. And
this old woman recoils from you for a moment, as if surprised as you leap out of nowhere. She switches out as she pulls out a grayish mackerel tabby from off her shoulder. Fluffy pants, look at this one.
So I'm going to gently hold my hand out, and maybe if I have a piece of some kind of jerky or something, like rub it on my hands so my hands smell like meat of some kind, so hopefully they won't bite me terribly.
Okay. With this impromptu jerky rubbing, I would say if you wanted to make a charisma check towards this cat, you would have advantage to do so.
Right on. It's my favorite new line. Jerky rubbing technique. Oh, that one's... So I got a 13. The other one was the 3 as well.
I see. All right. With a 13, this cat is not violent towards you.
So it's being a cat.
This grayish mackerel tabby looks over, it sniffs over your hands. It nibbles one of your fingers.
So I will gently begin to try and pet it and hope it doesn't, like, tear my hand off.
Fluffy Bottom, just a little bit. Two of you together?
I'm not with him at all. He's some street...
I'm a town guard.
Town guard?
No, he's moving on. You better patrol somewhere else. I shoot him, like, give you the eye, like...
Yeah, I heard there's a warrant out for a certain David. I'll go check on that.
What do you ask of me? I'll take coin if you got it.
Oh, I have some coin. So I'm gonna, like, reach in and I'll take out, say, like, a couple gold pieces. And I'll kind of, like, I'm a pirate, so I'm gonna do that finger rolly thing with the coin across your knuckles, you know? As I,
eyes light up, as do all of her cat's eyes. They, like, stare with wide-eyed amusement and wonder at this.
That's a little creepy. So I'm gonna, like, scratch at the like, the, sort of like the cheek of one of the cats as I ask her, what she saw, like, what happened here. This seems like a pretty big disaster. Someone had to see something.
Okay. She reaches for the gold piece, and then one of her cats sort of, like, crawls along her arm and just devours it.
Like, eats it?
Oh, yeah, just, like, chomps it up and swallows it.
Oh.
And the old lady seems pleased, and she says, Old Sibby saw it all. The cats told her. The horses went wild and ran off. And the gang, they came on the carriage, robed, hooded. The driver was burned alive. A scaly dragon woman, prince's attendant, throat slit by a devil man, horns as tall as you are. And they picked up the prince, carried him off into a different carriage, rode that way. And she points towards the southeast.
So I'm going to slip another gold piece and roll it across my knuckles and ask what did the carriage look like that took him away?
A different cat, cradled in her arms, sort of eats that gold piece.
I'm going to shiver a little bit. It's weird.
She says, carriage was dark, carriage was big, carriage was real heavy, light, deep in the mud it went.
Very
and
good.
Then she points, she says, that way to the gate.
Did it go through the gate?
She doesn't know.
Okay. So what is in that direction besides the gate?
You can see there's like a long street that goes in that direction. There are numerous buildings. A lot of them look abandoned. The most prominent thing in that direction is indeed the south gate. It has these two large guard towers, and you can see in the distance there's sort of a guard patrol moving across the parapets of the wall of the city.
Okay. So I'll take a third gold piece then and roll it across my knuckles as I sort of like pull my hand back just a little bit so that whatever cat would come to get it would have to sort of like reach for it a little bit and ask if there's anything else that her cats may have seen.
With that, she will actually take that last gold piece with her hands. And she too eats it. They're just hungry for gold here. And as she takes it and swallows it, she then just says, no. I've told you all, old Sibby knows.
Yeah, my pirate sensibility should have known that one. That's all good. All right, so I will genuinely thank her that she's done a good thing here, and I hope that her and her cats have a warm place to sleep. And I'm gonna quickly like walk away quickly because she's weird and creepy. Yeah,
she hobbles off with all her cats to get to her doctors for an incurable pica. All right, but with that, the two of you now have another lead as you're able to head towards the south gate.
Do you tell me everything? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, actually, you go ahead.
So yeah, I'll let you know what she said about the devil man with horns that I think is our rogue friend that slit the throat, and the dragon person that breathes fire.
So she said that the attendant had their throat slit and the driver was burned alive?
The opposite, the other way around.
Yeah.
Okay.
Either way, like, we should go to the gate and see if the carriage went through the gate, because does that gate lead out of the city?
It does.
So that's, like, the most important detail we need to have, like, on the now. Now, I am not the guy, being an upstanding reformed pirate that I am, the person to go speak to the guardsman. I took the hit on the cat lady. You better figure out this guardsman problem, okay?
Yeah, I'll get it taken care of. Let's go to the gate.
All right, you head towards the south gate of Popper's Field. With that, we cut back to Robin and Tiffany as the two of you make your way through the Garden District to a very fancy establishment. There is a very well-carved wooden sign that describes a place called The Last Resort. It is indeed a very fancy nightclub. Its windows are sort of blacked out. And as you open the door, there seemed to be a band practicing in the corner. The light coming into this place is dim. It's very dark in here. There's a bar, and there's a few dwarves drinking at it. In the very back, in sort of one of those like circular round tables with the rounded couch behind it, like a booth, a very prominent half-elven looking woman sitting there, flanked by two bodyguards.
All right. Is the band any good? It's a relevant question.
Agree, I disagree.
No. In fact, they are very bad.
Oh.
And one of them seems to be using a squeeze box, and it seems to sort of rip apart as they're using it. This half-elf looks up, and she has sort of a disgusted look on her face, and she snaps her fingers. And with that, one of the dwarves drinking at the bar just rushes over and tosses them out on their ear.
All right. Well, I'm going to saunter over as if I have an actual purpose in speaking with this woman.
Okay. She raises an eyebrow and smiles at you as you get closer, and she says, "Oh, it looks to me as if you're here with a purpose." Interesting.
Yes, I'm here to solve a very large problem that you have.
A problem I have.
Yes.
And what problem is that?
Your music is terrible.
Oh. I guess this is becoming an audition.
Oh, no, not for me. Heavens, no.
Oh. You're a what? A manager?
Yes.
And this half-elf woman turns her attention to Tiffany and says, "I presume you're the entertainment then."
Yeah, and you're going to love me.
Oh, I'm sure.
If you can afford her, of course.
You'll find I can afford many things, but let's see if you're any good.
All right. Well, I'm going to take the stage. And I'm going to start pulling out my equipment meticulously.
Yeah, the band that was currently up there, they chase after their friend who got tossed out on their ear.
I'm going to kick their stuff off the stage if they left it. As I put out my
This
instruments.
gets this woman's attention, and she smiles.
And then I will begin playing.
All right. I would say that this is a performance check.
I know, I'm trying to see if I can roll it with advantage.
Can I add some wicked dance moves to enhance her performance?
Absolutely. If you want to assist with this, I would say that it will give Tiffany advantage on this roll.
Can I use my acrobatics in this?
Absolutely.
Yay!
Okay, so I got a 15 on my performance.
I got a 16 to assist you.
All right. This elven or half-elven woman raises an eyebrow and smiles and says, "Huh. I was fully expecting the two of you to sort of humiliate yourselves, and I would enjoyed myself greatly to have you tossed out, but you're actually pretty good." All right.
Are you trying to tell me you can't afford me? Because that's what it sounds like.
I can absolutely afford you. Yeah, I can schedule you for tonight, perhaps the night after if you're available.
Oh, so you want me to give up 2 nights just to play for you on a whim? You act like I don't have anything scheduled this evening.
Well, you did have that event at the Herb and Hoof for Waywalk It. So we might have to try and schedule around that.
She kind of like puts her hands to her mouth and is just sort of like listening intently to this.
Does she react at all when I say the name Waywalk It, like, or the Herb and Hoof? Like she's familiar with them or is salty about their existence?
Familiar. She sort of like nods a little bit at that.
Well, and then there's always the Gardenia house. They usually have me playing there. Does she do anything when I say that?
She does. She does respond to that. There's a moment where she, again, raises that eyebrow and is like, says, oh, you play for the Gardenia family?
I have. Pretty much if you can afford me, I'll play for you. I'd be willing to cancel, though. For the right amount.
She takes a moment and says, I could pay you 10 gold a night, if you are willing.
Money bores me. Talk to my manager.
10 gold a night. We'll also need a private dressing room, and of course, we have to have 5 different flavors of bonbons ready when we arrive. I'll make some other ridiculous, outlandish requests. Oh, organic alfalfa for the horses.
Oh. She takes a moment, like she looks over to one of these bodyguards. They pull out a notepad and begin writing things down. I see 5 flavors. Zero requests. Interesting.
While she's talking to her, I want to start looking around the place. I want to act like I'm setting my, sound up, but in actuality, I'm looking for these figures or any clues, anything that might lead me to believe the prince is here or the Pauper District residue is here.
Sure. You can make a investigation check.
I don't have investigation. What does that go off of?
I would believe it would be intelligence.
13.
13. You get the impression as you're looking over it, you see a number of very shady-looking dwarven guards, and everyone seems to be getting sort of looking out of the corner of their eyes at you. You're fairly certain, it doesn't take too much to deduce that this nightclub might just be a front for some kind of shady business dealings. You are not able to determine here's clues to the prince, but you definitely think there is something more going on here.
So once I'm done with
as you were searching around, this woman writes down all of these demands and then puts them out on the table and says, we can come to an agreement here. Where are my manners? I am Vorta Seedstyle.
Very good. Pleasure, Vorta. I am Robin. And tell me, what kind of crowd should we expect? What's your typical volume and genetic makeup, as it were?
I see. She describes the Last Resort's clientele, which is mostly dwarves and a fair number of sort of rich humans as well. They play a lot of basically the medieval fantasy version of techno.
Any, tieflings, dragon folk, that type?
She raises her eyebrow and says,
We have a special pyrotechnic setup that we use if they show. They really
interesting
crowd pleaser.
Not for some time.
It's a good cover.
Why you seem to be speaking of someone specific?
No one in particular. We did a show. It was yes, we're right around the spring solstice.
I called it Hell's Bells. I remember.
Yes, that's the one. Lots of pyrotechnics
and bells.
She crosses her arms and smiles and says, that could be something. Yes, I like the idea of this.
Uh-oh. What?
She actually looks over. It's she sort of gives you a once-over and says, getting the strong impression that you're looking more for information than you are employment. I find myself a very good judge of character and a very good judge of intent.
Well,
Let me be upfront. If you want to know something, I happen to know many things. Ask me a question, and if there is, say, money on the table, perhaps I will take that money and answer you.
do I have any money? Ooh,
Yeah,
how
20.
much is... Oh, no, you have my horse statue. Dang!
Don't get caught with that guardsman.
Horse statue. It's a well-accepted horse statue.
It's a very rare piece. So I will take out a couple gold pieces and set them on the table and say, I'm looking for an unusually mixed party. A dragon lady, a tiefling man, and possibly a halfling that travel together.
Make an insight check. If you're not trained in insight, it would just be a wisdom check.
Okay. I got a 5.
I have insight.
There's a reason that letter said adventurers and not our names.
I got an 11.
With an 11, you're able to notice that, like, she reacted to that, like, group of individuals and everything. Like, she tried to hide it, to, like, sort of stay cool. But as soon as you mentioned those 3 kinds of characters, she was like, oh. And she says, interesting. A little bit more money on the table, and I can tell you a little more.
You've told us nothing so far. What more would you tell us?
I can tell you that I know of who you're speaking of. I can give you specifics for, and she just kind of taps the table near those 2 gold pieces you put down.
Okay, I'll put down 2 more.
She scoops them up and says, you're looking for a cult. I'm not aware of all of them, but the tiefling, him I do know. His name is Gorgeous.
Oh, I love it already.
He stopped in quite a while ago to speak to me about contacts and the such. He's apparently rolling with a cult. He mentioned a dragonborn woman and a halfling. They're calling themselves the Cult of Abundance. They're apparently operating somewhere in the arcane Badlands to the south. I don't know much more than that, other than... What was it he said? And she gets a little sort of curious, and she taps the table a bit and says, he was blithering on about them trying to summon a new god or some such.
Does she seem to be telling the truth so far?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Yep.
Well, I'm going to put 2 more coins on that table. Blithering on about what?
Apparently, Gorgeous is a rogue. He's a grifter. He's always looking to make a bit of coin and looking to get ahead in life. Apparently, he owes a favor to this cult's leader, the Dragonborn woman. They call themselves the Cult of Abundance, and they're apparently out in the arcane Badlands somewhere trying to summon some sort of deity or god. I don't know much more than that, but that's what I know about him. If you're looking for him, I would suggest you head south.
I'm going to put 2 more gold pieces on the table. And so what do you really sell here?
Information, mostly.
You don't need that many dwarves to sell information.
Well, I also run this establishment. It brings in a fair amount of coin to keep me operating in this area.
All right, well, I suppose we'll be on our way, but a small tip for you, your music really does suck.
It's a problem, yeah.
If I don't die, I'll come back.
Please do. And Vorta waves you off with a smile.
I like her.
Of course you do.
She's got a pretty face.
Ah, don't they always?
I bet Gorgeous
All right.
has a pretty face, too.
I bet it's ironic.
Uh-oh.
All right, it's at that point. So if you head south, once you get towards the, sort of like in the direction that Vorta had told you to go, you actually run into the rest of your party.
Fancy meeting you here.
Hello, hello.
You guys smell like cat.
Yeah, that is weird.
You guys smell like horse.
You mispronounced it.
I don't get it.
horses taught you a lot of stuff then, huh? That's an awful long time while we've been out here prowling the streets up and down several blocks, investigating this carriage while you're talking to horses?
So you found out about the Cult of Abundance too?
Yes.
Very much so.
What are they trying to do?
We're not sure on that one yet.
Ah. And
But
how
we'll
many,
get there.
And how many kidnappers were there?
2 that matter.
No.
The dead
3.
ones? Oh, wait, no, wait.
Right, but there's 2 that matter.
Halflings are people too.
I'm not saying they're not people. I'm saying that one breathes fire, clearly higher
The
on the list.
halfling breathes fire?
No, the halfling doesn't
Oh
breathe.
my gosh! I thought it was going to be the Dragonborn.
No.
Weird.
But yes. What? the Dragonborn breathes fire, clearly.
And what's the tiefling's name?
The Devil Man.
No, it's Gorgeous.
Yeah, we know it.
Was that supposed
So
to...
he looks like. But what's his name, though?
Gorgeous.
Right, anyway.
So, to the south gate, to the
Yes.
Badlands.
The Arcane Badlands. Oh, you didn't know where we were going.
Yeah, we did. They went through that gate in a heavy loaded wagon.
Oh, that's good to
You
know.
think you're so important.
How
but
far
you're just
are-
not.
I am. I also got a job that pays 10 gold pieces, so even if
Then
we
go
suck
do that, and it'll be 3 ways instead of 4.
And bonbons. Don't forget the bonbons.
5 different flavors.
Yes, 5
Okay.
different flavors.
Well,
I had more fun talking to the cat lady.
I agree. Let's go.
But more importantly, how far away are these arcane Badlands?
So actually, anyone who wants to can make a history check to see how much you recall about the Arcane Badlands.
Hey, I actually have a skill.
Look at you, fighter.
Who'd have thought history was going to be useful?
That'll be an
hope
18.
I hope the bard fails and you make
Oh, damn.
Not much of a talker, but I am a history major.
I don't have history.
I got a 16.
She makes it up as she goes along.
All right. So, with an 18 and a 16, the rest of you are able to recall the Arcane Badlands is an area about a few miles south of the city-state of Invincia. A few hundred years ago, there was an event known as the Hex Blight. The area around Invincia was once dotted with wizard towers and places of arcane study, like magic colleges and things. Magic was poppin' like a few hundred years ago. And then, out of nowhere, there was an unforeseen disaster. Terrible arcane storms and chaos magic seemed to stream out of these wizard towers, and it absolutely blighted the landscape. The wizard towers exploded outwards. Animals and people were turned into demons and monsters. The land grew sour, and nothing was able to grow there again. Everything that's touched by just this lingering chaos magic is corrupted. This event became known as the Hex Blight, and most of that area, now known as the Arcane Badlands, has been abandoned. However, because it was filled with wizard towers and the such, there are still many, many kinds of valuables and sort of precious things left behind. And so many people try to seek out and brave these Badlands to sort of recover these treasures. There are still numerous properties and places all around just waiting to sort of be snatched up. But realtors can't sell them because they're hex blighted and no one will move into them.
So there's no residual arcane fallout. I'm not going to go out there and grow a horn out of the middle of my head or anything, right?
Au contraire, there indeed is. It's not so much that if you walk through this area, you're suddenly going to get magical radiation poisoning. But there are some areas that are cordoned off and marked out don't go in here. It's hex blighted. It's real bad. The chaos magic is still there and it'll mess you up.
Well, that sounds quaint.
Sounds like the perfect spot to summon a god.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but I think we should go get our new wealthy benefactor family to give us a horse and carriage to get there, because I am not walking. 1 step for you is 2 steps for me, and that is a lot of steps.
All right.
God, you're needy.
If you do so, heading back to Gerdania Manor, it doesn't take much convincing to have Oral Drenmark basically give you a carriage and horses. You tell him the information you've learned so far, and he is just aghast upon hearing that. And he very quickly gives you a carriage and says, go out there, find Prince Fio before something terrible happens to him. A cult, you said? Ugh.
Of abundance. That doesn't sound too bad.
That doesn't sound too bad at all, actually. That sounds quite pleasant.
I know.
Clearly, they've kidnapped our charge, and that's very bad.
Yeah,
so,
okay.
Like, you...
so you get a sturdy carriage and 2 horses.
Oh, jeez.
All right. Does anybody know how to drive this carriage?
Well, I'm better with cats than I thought I was going to be, but horses, I don't know. So, when we're away from the royalty people and their servants, are they going to sacrifice this guy to raise this dark god? Is that the plan? Or do you not know that? That's generally how cults go in my experience.
We didn't really divulge the plan. I feel like we should stop the cult, but maybe just sort of happen to let the prince die. I feel like chaos and upheaval would be very good for the poor people of this town.
I feel like you guys are being really easy on the whole cult factor, I feel like.
I mean, it's like a
You
side
considered the
note.
ramifications of summoning a god yet.
Right, yeah, yeah.
Well, I mean, depending on the god, it might not be that bad, right? You're a cleric. Your god's pretty cool. I mean, I'm assuming you think so.
Kind of temperamental. It's Poseidon. So.
Oh, well, let's not summon him.
I mean, like, he's got a scene and everything, temperamental, weather.
To clarify, at some point, I would like to check my backpack and find the statue that's been in there the whole time. I felt the weight shift, but I haven't actually looked yet.
You go to get out like a water canteen to take a sip, and you find just a giant horse statue.
Stealing now.
I am appalled.
I'm Tiffany.
All right. So you guys take this carriage to the gates. The guards there stop you for a moment. They ask you where you're going.
We're going to the Arcane Badlands.
Ooh,
Wow.
Just out with it, huh? That fast.
the Arcane Badlands, eh?
Doesn't help
Well, that's a
light
real
of
creepy
guards.
place, don't you know?
Oh, I know.
Well, best of luck with you then.
Hey, we actually had a couple questions for you. First off, do I know you? Would he be?
I don't.
Would he be included in my military rank? Possibly one of the people I knew.
Absolutely, he is. He's like, oh shoot, Roland, is that you?
Yeah, it's old. So how you been?
As I roll a d20 on my random name table included in this adventure. His name is. You remember his name is Thaddeus? He's like, oh yes, Thad, eh? Oh, it's good to see. How's life treating you?
Oh,
since
it's
the
had
war
its
and
ups
all
and its
that.
downs.
Oh yeah.
This is one of the
Yeah,
downs.
I've been having to take up guard duty around this gate. We just got a bunch of slackers here. It's real bad.
I should join back on. I'd whip them all up into shape real quick. Hey,
Oh, you don't get me started, dude. You do way better up here. You know, the 2 guys I've had the past couple of days, bunch of no good nicks.
you know, I
It's
have been
lazy
thinking about
and
getting a
such.
new job recently. Not a huge fan of my coworkers at the moment.
Yeah,
We're right
I
here.
gotta tell you, they're probably better who I'm working with.
We're right here.
That's right, we are. Thanks, Patty.
All right, keep your stick on the ice. You be careful out there.
Just as a quick thing, do you happen to be working a couple days ago?
No, that would have been Garrett and Galink.
On where exactly can I find him?
Oh, they're just up in the guard. You want to? If you can whip them up into shape, I'd greatly appreciate it. You know.
Oh yeah, we can probably get that settled out. We can make the pit stop, right, guys?
You go.
I don't know that we can.
He brings you up to the guard tower, and he sort of like opens the door to a very small barracks in this one tower, and 2 guards sort of bolt awake at that. One was sort of nodding off in a chair. The other was asleep, and they are sort of startled as the door opens.
You two supposed to be on break?
They both nod. One is sort of gingery and has a beard. The other has sort of black hair that's graying at the temples. He's got glasses.
I would really desperately like to steal something out of the guard tower. It doesn't really have to be valuable.
As you look about the place, you can see it is just filled with stuff. Looking around, you see... you see there is a large table. There is a bunch of playing cards scattered across it. Also see there are a few coin pouches around. Prominently on one of the tables, you actually see a very large sort of pink frosted cake. Like this thing looks incredibly fresh and like incredibly well made.
I'm gonna steal the cake. And also one playing card.
Okay.
Aww. You're a jerk.
Right, so as this conversation happens, these two guards are stand at attention before Thaddeus. They definitely look a little nervous. As you do, you can make a sleight of hand check to try and make off with this cake and a playing card.
I got a natural 20.
You steal the entire cake.
Oh my god.
All right, Roland, what do you want to say to these guys? Or actually, anyone can ask sort of like any questions that you want.
You too. I'm looking for a carriage that went by here. Was it yesterday or 2 days ago?
It would have been not quite 2 days ago. Like basically a day and a half.
I'm looking for a carriage that would have been in here about a day and a half ago. Big, heavy, several occupants. We're thinking probably 4.
They look to each other and then look to you and shake their heads like, no carriages have been through here. And there says, no carriages at all. Nothing of the sort.
Oh yeah, is that so?
Yeah.
I think a couple push-ups ought to jog your memory. 20.
They get down and begin doing push-ups. Each makes a strength check. That is a 3 and a 2. They get maybe 3 push-ups. No, that's how many push-ups they get. One gets 2, and the other gets 3 before they collapse. Yeah, upper body strength does not seem to be their thing. They're like, oh.
I feel a lot safer.
And they sort of like get to their feet. It's like, sir, I don't know if we can do any more push-ups.
Thaddy, you weren't kidding. This is rough.
Oh yeah, they're real sorry. Boys, you got to be doing a better job than this.
All right, if you can't do push-ups, we'll figure something else out. You said there's a bunch of stuff in here. Are there any like barrels?
Oh yeah. There are barrels of provisions. There's also a couple of barrels of water.
Both of you grab a barrel.
All right. They each pick up... they both go to pick up empty barrels.
Yeah, that'll work. Open them up.
Yeah. All right, they do.
I'm going to find the heaviest things I can find in this guard room and start loading up their barrels.
All right. Make either a perception check or an investigation check.
Make a perception check. 4. Great at history, bad at perception.
Yeah. Anyone else can help find a bunch of stuff as well if you're also like making perception checks to search about the place. You find some heavy goods and some armor and some things that you begin to pile into these barrels.
Perfect.
What everybody else get?
I got a 1.
Oh my god, so did I. What?
Wow.
I found these pillows.
I found a cake.
Don't put the cake in there. What's wrong with you?
I think we filled the barrels with feathers.
So I'm gonna whisper into the ear of one of them that the barrels will get lighter the faster you remember something.
All right. You start piling stuff in. Okay. One of them seems to take that in stride and he starts lifting this barrel, intent on staying quiet. The other, however, folds like a house of cards. He says, he like drops his barrel. And so like as soon as you put something heavy in it, it drops out of his hand. And he's like, all right, there was a carriage the other day.
Oh, yeah? Did you inspect it, investigate it, just watch it go by?
No, they stopped and they threw us some money and that cake, and then we let them through, and it was moving around a lot like someone was struggling inside, but we let them go through anyway. And like Chunk from the Goonies, he just starts crying.
These are the worst guards I've ever seen in my entire retired pirate life.
How much money did they throw you?
He points over to one of the cots, and how you didn't notice it before? This just huge sort of bulge underneath the mattress of this cot, just like this prominent, just sort of like bulge in the center of it. As you overturn it, you find a very hefty bag of money that you think holds about 100 gold pieces.
I think they should have to go feed these to the cat lady as punishment, and then we can,
I've got a plan for this. First and foremost, you two, you said there was a cake. Where's the cake?
I don't see a cake.
They look dumbfounded as the cake is gone.
So you ate the cake instead of exercising. You forgot that you ate the cake. You were asleep just a second. This is pathetic. All right.
They're probably lying about the cake.
Are you lying to me about the cake?
They get real scared and they shake their heads like really fast.
All right. So here's what I'm going to do. First and foremost, bribery is not acceptable, so I will be confiscating this.
Okay. You take the money from them.
Secondly, I will be helping Thaddeus train you a couple weeks down the line to make sure you're a little more stocky, so to say. Unless one of you wants to come along and help us in the Badlands.
Oh, they shake their heads so quickly at that. Thaddeus looks to you. It's like, you done a good job here. Really whipping them into shape. I really appreciate you coming down here, Roland, and doing this. Listen, you take that there bag of money and the invisible cake that apparently is not there, and you go on your way knowing you done a good thing.
Well, thank you, Thaddeus. I'll make a couple visits, and as I go to leave, I'll do one more double take back at the two. I'm gonna roll intimidate.
All right, make an intimidation check.
I'm gonna roll intimidation and tell them next time, if you're not in shape, you will be going to the Badlands with me.
Oh goodness!
Natural 20.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, they are thoroughly intimidating. Galink pees himself.
Oh God!
All that.
All right.
All that. I hope you saved something for. Hey, that's a bag full of money.
Why, yes, it is.
Oh, at least it's like a consolation prize if we,
As you head back to the carriage, the portcullis of the south gate opens, and you exit the city-state of Invincia and the Pauper's Field. You are now 100 gold pieces richer, and you also have this very pristine pink frosted cake.
We're going to use that to bargain for the prince's life.
I thought we would eat it.
I think it's a cake of forgetfulness.
Why did a bunch of murder cult leaders have a cake?
I don't have any idea.
Abundance.
I don't
You think
know.
they spawned the cake?
Certainly they didn't bake it.
Well, it is way nicer of a cake than any rich noble prince has ever given me.
I hate to say it, but the cake might be the most important part of this investigation so far.
Part of Lee secretly hopes that the Dragonborn bakes cakes.
I plan on questioning this cake on the way there.
Anyone who wants to can investigate this cake to sort of learn more about it. Any skills you think might be pertinent.
I would like to investigate the cake.
Go for it.
This is like interrogating that horse.
We're feeding the cat.
Or feeding the cat.
I got a 14 on my cake investigation roll.
Damn. What skill was that? Investigation
Yes.
or Arcana? Or?
Investigation.
All right. You can tell by investigating it. It is of the utmost quality. This thing is far and away better than any series of Pauper's Field guards would ever have. This must have come out of an incredibly upper class bakery or something, because it is incredible and immaculately made.
Is it magical?
You don't know. That would take an Arcana check.
I will do an Arcana check.
I don't have it. So.
I got a 15.
A 15? As you look at its sort of lustrous icing and sort of the sheen that it has, there is a certain sparkle about it. You think it might indeed be magical.
I don't know.
As you sort of as it slides around, it seems to hold itself intact in a way that as the carriage is jostling along, it would probably have been ruined after a couple of the hard sort of bumps the carriage has gone over, and yet it is just perfect.
Something as non-threatening as an iced cake is kind of terrifying. It's magical.
Something magical about it.
But what flavor is it?
I don't want to know. I'm good. I can go mine.
So this pink frosted cake, it has sort of icing rosettes along the side, and they're topped with maraschino cherries. The entire thing smells faintly of rose water.
Okay, I'll do it. I'll take a bite of it.
Well,
you tell me.
Do you think it came out of the manor
Oven.
house? Because they're carrying the prince out with this cake, and they gave the guards the cake.
You think the prince had the cake?
Either that, or they gave these people cake as payment. Never mind. Never mind. Don't worry about it. Let's pretend I didn't say that. Don't eat the cake. Let's go. No, let's go. Stop looking at it. Let's go.
I'm totally going to eat a cherry.
Okay. Need you make a Constitution saving throw?
You didn't learn from the last time.
Listen, there's cake.
True, it brings people together. It really does.
Yay! I got a 3.
Give me a moment as I get to these rules.
This is delicious.
I hope it was working.
So, 2 things. One, it is incredibly sweet and possibly the greatest thing you've ever had.
Worth it.
There are rules for this somewhere.
Thank goodness you rolled on the delicious chart.
Okay. With that, I need you to roll 1d4.
1.
Okay. As you eat the cherry, the tiniest morsel of this cake, you'd actually feel a certain snugness of your armor around you.
This is a cherry of bloating. But I don't care because it's delicious.
You're probably allergic.
To cherries?
Yeah, have you ever had one before?
No.
When my mother ate bees on accident, she started to swell up too, and it was because she was allergic to them.
Do you have a song about this?
No.
Yes, I do.
No.
Yes. And I will
No.
now perform the swelling song.
Oh, God.
I got a 22 on my performance check.
make
It's
the
rich
horses
with
go.
innuendo, but all about allergic reactions.
I'll cry.
Oh my God.
Tears of happiness.
So, as a lot of you investigate this cake, you roll through the arcane Badlands, following the brief directions you had been given, searching it out, as you were being serenaded as this allergic reaction happens from this magical cake. Somewhere deeper in the arcane Badlands, in an abandoned storehouse, true to his name, gorgeous tiefling sharpens a blade by a fire as he is surrounded by a handful of human cultists in black robes. He looks out to the midday sun, shielding his eyes, as in the distance from down below there is a scream of a very prominent prince.
Wow.
He shrugs it off and thinks, certainly there are no adventurers on their way to interrupt our plans. We did such a good job paying off those guards and such a good job snatching him up off the street without anyone noticing. And is there, ladies and gentlemen, where this part of the adventure ends. And the rest awaits in the final book.
Right on.
Awesome.
I like that. That was
Very
cool.
cool.
Thank you guys so much for playing.
Thank you so much, Kyle. This was a lot of fun, as always. Awesome, awesome. So, when is Peril of the Fat Prince available, and where can people find it?
So this adventure is going to be available in full at the beginning of June 2019. You can currently get it by visiting a Ko-fi link that I will include in the show notes. But after June 1st, it will be available on the Birch and Bat website, birchandbat.com. It's where all my adventures are currently living. That'll be the primary place to buy it digitally.
Right on. Well, thank you so much. This was super fun as always. And everyone should go out and support Kyle because all of his stuff is amazing and awesome, and we're just huge fans. And
Aw, thanks so much.
Yeah, I don't know. I just can't say enough good things. We have so much fun. I don't know.
Go ahead and buy the Christmas episode while you're there.
Yeah.
Because then you can run a Christmas in July game.
True story. We had a lot of fun with that one as well, which we'll go into later on. But so much fun.
You guys liked it.
Yeah, so much fun. Right on. Well, thank you very much. And like I said, we'll link all of the different places to go find everything in the show notes. And yeah, thank you so much.
No problem. Always happy to be on here.
Thanks for listening. This has been an episode of Just One More Fix. Music has been provided by Kevin MacLeod. You can find him at incompetech.com. You can support us at patreon.com/JustOneMoreFix or follow us on Twitter at JustOneMoreFix.